It's important to note before we start that all 3D coordinates are always written in the form x, y, and then z, that third dimension on the end. So here we've got to work out the coordinates of the points A, B, C and D. So we'll do A first of all. Now A, we need to work out the x coordinate first of all. Well, it's travelled 2 along my x coordinates, along my x-axis, and then it's also travelled 4 along the y-axis here, but we've not gone up the z-axis at all. So this must have the coordinate of 2, 4, 0. B, which is up here, so B has not travelled along the x-axis at all. It's still stuck in the centre, so it must have an x-coordinate of 0. It is still 4 along the y-axis, and it has this time gone 3 up. So that must be 0, 4, 3. C is right out here, so that is again 2 along my x-axis, it is 4 along the y-axis, and it is 3 up. So that is going to be 2, 4, 3. And D, which is here, is 2 along the x-axis, but we've not travelled along the y-axis at all, so it's got to be 2, 0, and then it's gone up 3 along my z-axis, so that must be 2, 0, 3. Just to confuse you, I thought I'd throw in this question. Again, it's 3D coordinates, so it's going to be x, y, z, but you'll notice this time that the axes are the other way around, isn't it? The x has appeared over here, and the y has gone vertical, and the z is off in this direction. But it's still exactly the same format, so we need to make sure we still write it in the form x, y, z. And this time, the only thing we can tell is that Q is at 5, 3, 4. So we need to begin by working out the coordinates of the point P, which is over here. So first of all, it's going to have the same x coordinate as Q, so it must begin with a 5. It is also at the same height vertically as Q is, so the y coordinate must also be the same, 3. But the only difference is that P has not travelled along the z-axis at all, so it must still be 0. Write down the coordinates of the point T. T's down here again. That's going to share the first coordinate with Q. It's going to share the same x coordinate, so it must begin with a 5. Then we're going to go and have a look at the y-axis. Well, the point T is stuck on the ground, it's not gone up the y-axis at all, so that must be 0. And the final one, the z-axis, well, it's not gone along the z-axis either, so it must be 5, 0, 0. The point S, which is here, again that's got the same x coordinate, so that must begin with a 5. And then we look at the y coordinate, well it's not gone up again at all, so that must be a 0, but it is sticking out along my z-axis, so that must be a 4. The point R, which is over here, so it's not gone along the x-axis at all, so it must be beginning with 0, and then we've got not gone up the y-axis at all, so that's got to be 0, 2, but it has gone along the z-axis, and that z-axis is 4. Final one, write down the coordinates of the point U. Again, U's not gone along the x-axis, it has gone up the y-axis, and it's not gone along the z-axis, so I know that x and z are both going to be 0, and then the y coordinate must be 3. Final question, what are the coordinates of the centre of this box? And we're going to assume here that each of these little lines means 1 unit. So I just need to find the centre of the box. So I can see that it's going to be 4 units long, and it must be just 2 units up by looking at this. And I can also see that along my z-axis here, it looks like 3 units. So the coordinates of the centre, which, because it's a 3D coordinates, are going to be in the form x, y, z. Now let's have a look at it. We work out where x is here. So x is here this time. So halfway along the x coordinates would be 1.5. Halfway along the y coordinate, which goes out to 4, will be 2. And halfway up the z-axis, which goes up 2, must be 1. So they must be the coordinates of the centre of the box.